Hello, everyone. I wanted to start with the same card, or a card, not the same one, that I always start with, one of Dr. Shafali's cards. And today's card says, all bad behavior by a child is communication gone awry. And bad is in quotation marks. All bad behavior by a child is communication gone awry. So there it is. And so I always like to say, all behaviors are trying to communicate a need, right? It could either be a need of a skill that hasn't been taught or learned yet. It could be a need for more connection. It could be a need for a limit that needs to be set. So we're going to get into that today. We're going to focus a little bit on behaviors and what we can do. I know there's a lot of families and parents struggling right now with behaviors, and I think the fact that we're all with our children 24/7, which we're not used to doing for these long periods of time, is really making, it's really being difficult for some parents. And you're not alone. There's a lot of parents going through the same thing. So I know that as parents, we beat ourselves up and we feel guilty for losing it on our children. And I just want to let you know that right now and anytime, there's no perfect parent. So the fact that you've lost it just means you're human, and you can always go back and repair. The damage, like people like to say or think, that we impart on our children with our parenting is not necessarily something that scars them for life. Like if we go back and repair, if we go back, and I guess what I'm trying to say is that the brain is neuroplastic. It never stops learning. It's never too late to repair. Even when our children are adults, we can still work on our relationship and on repairing things that have happened. So if you're feeling like you've been doing a horrible job right now and are beating yourself up and feeling guilty, it's not helpful. It's not helpful for yourself, and it's not helpful for your child, but it's totally understandable. It's a difficult time we're going through, and it's difficult to realize that even though we are going through this right now, we have to figure out a way to regulate ourselves so we can help our children regulate. A lot of the behaviors that we are witnessing and experiencing would change if we changed how we feel inside about the situation, especially about safety. So like I talked last week about safety being an inside job, and about safety coming from within. If you don't feel safe, then there's no way that you can help your child to feel safe. The younger they are, especially, the more dependent they are on our ways of regulating so that they could regulate. So the safety is something that is imperative, right? And when we're not feeling safe, which many adults aren't feeling safe right now, they're not working from their executive function, from their prefrontal cortex, right? They're not working from the space in their brain that makes good choices, logical choices, that can calm your nervous system. So a lot of adults right now themselves are in survival mode. They're in emotional brain mode. And when you're in that space, you can't think of creative ideas. You can't help your child regulate. You can't choose to respond to a behavior instead of reacting to a behavior. So, as hard as it is right now, it's imperative that we as adults find ways to take care of ourselves, to create that safety for ourselves, and to forgive ourselves and have compassion for ourselves. Because if we can't do that for ourselves, we won't be able to hold space for our children. So you might be thinking, okay, yeah, that sounds great, but how do I take care of myself right now when I'm attached to my child 24/7 and can't leave the house and can't go to yoga or don't have the time to meditate for a half an hour because my child's always attached to me. So we have to get creative. And of course, like I even said, we were in our survival emotional brain. We can't get creative, so it's very hard to get there. So I'm going to give you a few ideas to help you. And I would even suggest create a checklist for yourself and post it somewhere where you're going to see it every day, so that when you're not in your higher brain and you're not capable of being creative and coming up with these or remembering them, you have them right then and there. So for example, put a timer on your phone for every hour, and when that timer goes off, wherever you are, sit, close your eyes, and take 5 deep breaths. Put your hand on your belly so you can feel that you're breathing on down in your belly and not up in your chest. 5 deep breaths with longer exhale. So inhale and then exhale a little longer than your inhale. 5 times every hour. Do things that you can do with your children. Self-care doesn't mean you have to go and isolate and lock yourself in a room by yourself. Yeah, that's great, but sometimes you can't do that. So you put on music that you enjoy and you dance and you move your body and you get your system going, and that's going to help your nervous system. It's going to help your brain. It's going to help you feel calm and safe. And your kids will probably join in with you. So you start to create a playful environment. Something as simple as doing Play-Doh with your child. The act of rolling the Play-Doh in your hands and the tactile experience could be very calming. And then just focus on your breath, and they could sit there and play and create with you. So creating something, whether it be a meal, whether it be playing with Play-Doh or artwork, paints and crayons and coloring. A lot of us think, oh, that's just for children. But doing those things will also help you take care of yourself. And if you can do them, quietly and really just breathing, and great. If your child is there and wants to interact with you and you can stay playful, that helps you too. It helps you shift your energy. Go outside and lay down in the grass and stare at the clouds and watch them go by. Go outside and play with the hose, and so anything playful is also going to help you shift your energy. So that's some things that you can do to take care of yourself, and but I think getting on the breath at least every hour, 5 breaths. I didn't say 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 5 breaths. I think that that's something doable that everybody can do, that will help to begin to remind you to stay centered and to stay on your breath. Anything above and beyond that you can do past that, fabulous. But this is really a time to simplify. So the simpler you can keep it, the better. So that takes me to anything that's causing you stress right now, which for some people, it could be trying to keep up with school. If that's causing you stress right now, and especially if it's causing your child stress right now, then maybe it's not worth doing right now. Your child's social emotional state is the most important part right now. If they fall behind a little bit academically, they'll catch up. But if it's causing stress in the home, in you, in your child, then figure out a way to either shift it to doing it in a playful way, or maybe it's just time to give it up for now. And yeah, I would even write to the teacher and say, this is not working for us, and we're not going to continue. And I don't think there's anything wrong with speaking up for your child. And as your child's safekeeper, you know what's best for them. And if it's causing stress right now, and if it's causing a rift in your relationship with them, then let it go. Once we can create that safety for ourselves, then we can hold that space for our children to feel safe in. And so, not just in these times, but all times, being aware of how we create safety for our children is important. Because one of the best indicators, or the best indicator of how a child grows up to be successful, is by their, if they have a secure attachment to at least one person. That doesn't mean it has to be the mother or the father or the grand, right? It doesn't have to, they could have with attachment, secure attachment with several people, and that's wonderful. But at least with one person. So that's what brings me back to right now, the most important thing is their social emotional state and that secure safety. So be aware of how you're talking about what's going on right now too. And when your child asks about why can't I go outside and hang out with my friends, or why can't I go to school, or why can't, right? Are you giving them the message that it's dangerous to be with other people or to go to school? Or are you saying, well, we're taking a break until it's safe? It's two different, completely different messages. Because if we're telling them that being around people or going to school is dangerous, which they may even be picking that up without us telling them, right? But by the fact that we're trying to protect ourselves with masks and gloves and 6 feet apart and all that, they're already kind of picking up on that. So I think it's really important to remind them that, oh, we're taking a break until it is safe. Because if we're wiring their brains right now to believe that the world is a dangerous place and that being around people is dangerous and that being in contact or going to school is dangerous, and then all of a sudden things open up again, and now we've wired their brain to believe that it's dangerous, we're going to have a lot of anxiety in moving forward. But if we tell them, oh, we're just waiting for it to be safe, then they know that, oh, when we come back out, is because it's safe. So just that little shift in the way we think and in the way we communicate to them is going to be extremely helpful for when we do come out of this situation and we start connecting again. And we want people to feel, we want our children to feel safe to do that again. So this is very important for how we handle this time. And also think about on a daily basis, right? Even when we weren't in this lockdown, how you react to your children around safety. When they're doing something where they could fall, did you say, you're gonna fall, get down, you're gonna fall, be careful, right? We don't know that they're gonna fall. We're assuming they're gonna fall. We're predicting the future or attempting to predict the future that they're gonna fall. And so we're creating anxiety. We're coming from fear, as opposed to saying, giving them the message of, you could fall, be aware of what you're doing so you can keep yourself safe. That's a big difference. And you're empowering them and teaching them that they are capable of keeping themselves safe. So remembering to tell them what you do want them to do, which is keep themselves safe. Because if we say, be careful with what? They could be looking at it completely different from you. And you're not really giving them a concrete message. Plus, it's coming from fear, as opposed to empowering them that they are capable of keeping themselves safe. So you're climbing on the chair. You could fall. Be aware of how you're moving up there to keep yourself safe, or hold on to keep yourself safe, right? I'm willing to hold your hand to help you stay safe. It's a completely different energy from, be careful, you're going to fall, right? So we're constantly, think about how we're constantly wiring the brain for safety and empowerment, or for danger and anxiety. All right, so that's the inside part, the inside job. I think I also said either last week in one of the other videos how we go through life with one eye looking out and one eye looking in, right? So that the inner part is that we create the safety within ourselves, so that then and the self-compassion and self-forgiveness, so that then we can hold space for our children. Another part on the inside is our mindset, right? So if we're walking around thinking that our children are always trying to manipulate us, we're always going to be ready to defend ourselves, or to attack, or to get our point across. But if we're walking around thinking that our child's behavior is giving us a message, our child is telling us what they need, our child regulates with our mirror neurons, our child feels safe when we create safety, then that completely changes the picture. And then we can soften, and then we can stay calm, because we won't feel attacked, and our nervous system won't be in fight or flight. And we can stay calm, so we can make the choice to respond instead of react. So the mindset, catch your thoughts, catch what you're thinking about the situation. I've heard people say, and I even thought this when my children were little, and I remember reading about it, in parenting books when my children were infants, and they would, the books would say, or even my elders would say, oh, they're manipulating you. They just want you to carry them. Just let them cry. They'll get over it, right? Like, this is what we, for generations, have thought and have conditioned parents to believe, that our children are trying to manipulate us. When in fact, now we know, and science has proven, and psychology has proven, that their children are just trying to get their needs met. They're not trying to manipulate us. They're trying to get their needs met. So it's our job to stay regulated, so we can really attune what is that need that they have right now. And when we come from that place of our child is looking for us, to us, for safety, our child is looking to us to teach them the skills they need, our child is looking to us to connect and learn that it's okay to be them, that we see them, that we hear them, that they matter. Then, when we're thinking in those terms, we can stay open, we can stay calm. Is it always going to be like that? No. Are we going to get triggered? Yes, we're still human. You could do this work beautifully and deeply And you're still going to get triggered at times. But remember what I said in the beginning, it's not about being the perfect parent. It's not about never losing it. It's about doing the best you can with what you have and with what the awareness that you have, and becoming more and more aware that our children are just trying to get their needs met. That we are, in fact, their first teachers, whether we like it or not, whether we think of it that way or not. Before they ever go to school, we're already teaching them from the moment they come out of our womb. We're teaching them about love, about getting their needs met, about connection. Right? We're already doing it. Now we're being asked to teach academics, which is a completely different thing and we may not have signed up for. And so that's why that's a stressor. And that's also why I say maybe it's okay to drop that right now, to let that go. Because we're talking about social emotional or academics. Which one's going to get you farther in life? Which one is going to help you with relationships, help you with your humanity? Nothing against academics, but you can always catch up on that. So I talked about the safety within. I talked about our mindset, which also is an inside job. And now I'm going to talk about the outside and how we can create an environment for our children and ourselves to be more successful when it comes to behaviors. So setting a routine, and I know there's all these crazy routines and pictures of routines going around Facebook and Instagram, and people are planning every second of their day. If that works for you, if that helps you to be calm, go for it. I think people are doing that because they know and they've heard that predictability and routine creates safety. And that is absolutely true. But that being said, you don't have to plan every single second of the day. Have a few anchors. Have your 3 meals of the day at around the same time. Give or take 30 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour. Those are your 3 anchors. Have a set bedtime. Again, more or less. It doesn't have to be exact, but give or take 30, 45 minutes. Have a bedtime. Have a routine as far as does your child bathe before or after dinner? Simple things like that are not going to bring added stress into your life. Make sure you're having time to go outside and be in nature. For both of you, it's going to help everyone to spend some time in the sun and to spend some time in fresh air, to listen to the birds singing, whatever you have access to. Move your body, yours, and help them move their body. With children, it doesn't have to be about exercise. And for us either, make it fun, make it playful. The more playful that we can stay, the more in our prefrontal cortex we will be. So the more space that we will have for them. And they will enjoy being in that energy with us. Remember that we are each other's mirror. And they pick up, and whatever we are giving off energetically, in our faces, with our bodies, and if what you're saying and your body language and your facial expressions don't match, and you're faking it, like you're pretending to be happy when you're furious inside, they pick that up. And that doesn't feel safe to them because they're like, wait, this is confusing. And they keep pushing because they know there's something down there under. right? Like we're part of that iceberg that we've talked about, right? We have those feelings under here. And if we're not being authentic, they're going to keep pushing us and they're going to keep trying to get us there to be authentic. So remembering that it's okay for us to have feelings too. And it's okay for us to express. It's more than okay. In my opinion, it's fantastic to teach that to our children so that they know that it's okay for them to have feelings too, and that we're here ready to accept all and every feeling that they have without judgment. So remembering to be authentic with yourself is another way of creating safety for them, which we don't really think about that one. We think that the safety has to be just, in our smiling face and faking it. And really, that's not helpful. Be authentic and say that you're angry right now and that you're going to take a few breaths to calm down. Because even if you're trying to fake it, it's going to come out eventually. And if you're not naming it and dealing with it then and there, it's going to come out in a less helpful way because it'll come out with screaming, with anger, with frustration for something that's even simple and not calling for that. But if you're bottling it up, it's going to come out. So remembering to be authentic is also another way to help them feel safe and for yourself to feel safe, to be you. So we talked about simplifying the schedule, having, little routines like lighting a candle and reading a story right before bedtime, right? It doesn't have to be this huge routine with 6 steps before you get to bed, right? Keep it simple, especially right now. Don't try to implement all these new things and just keep it simple. When you are in those moments of taking care of them, like sitting down for a meal with them or giving them a bath if they're still too young to bathe by themselves, those are the times to really be present. Those are the times where you fill up their cup of connection. You fill up their hearts with your presence. Just no phones, no devices, no interruptions, just really being present. And remember, presence doesn't mean you have to talk. Presence doesn't mean you have to do anything. Just being present, that you're tasting your food when you're eating with them, that you're looking at them, that you are just enjoying each other's company. And if they want to talk, great. But don't feel like you have to strike a conversation with them now the entire meal because you have to be present with them. Right? That's not what I'm talking about. That's not what presence is. It's just being there, being available, having some sort of connection, eye contact, maybe rub their arm a couple of times. Just let them know that you're there, that you see them, and that you're available. Really use those times where you're sitting down for meals together, or bathing, or story time, or one activity during the day where you sit down and do something together to really fill them up. So that will give you some pockets throughout the day where then they'll feel full and ready to go do something independently so that you can get some time to do what you need or want to do as well. We talked about being in nature, moving your bodies. All right, so going back to how we are their teachers. So a lot of times we assume that kids know things. They have these skills that they were just born with, right? Like they just know how to reach out their hand and wait for you to put something in it as opposed to grabbing it out of your hand. Let's say as an example. Of course they don't know this, especially if we have been walking around ripping things out of their hands all of their life. Like, when we really sit down and analyze and become aware of how many times we take something out of their hands without asking them, you'd be really surprised. Like, I still am aware of it, and I still at times catch myself doing it. And then I say, oops, give it back and say, I oops. And then you model what you want. Like, so we assume they know all these skills because they're human beings, but they're young human beings, and we haven't taught them these skills. So you teach them. Open up your hand if you want something. So when you're gonna pass something to them, say, here you go, open your hand, and then give it to them. If they go to rip it or grab it, simply say, wait, hold on, open your hand, I'll put it in. Right? It's a simple skill where we're teaching them to open their hand so you can give something, and that's going to translate when they're playing with their friends or their siblings to, oh, my turn, right? So that's another skill you teach. If they want a turn with something, to open their hand and say, my turn, if they're really little, or may I have a turn, please, if they're older, as opposed to just grabbing. And again, we're teaching this. So if a child grabs something out of your hand, or grabs something out of a sibling's hand or a friend's hand, that doesn't mean that, oh, they go to timeout because they did it wrong. Well, they need help learning a skill. So it's our opportunity to teach. And we say, oh, wait, oops, let's do that again. Seems like you wanted to play with that toy. You could ask for a turn. Let's give it back and ask for a turn. Can I have a turn? And you work through it with them until they learn that skill. Something like cleaning up. We just assume that kids are going to naturally be happy to clean up and want to clean up and know how to clean up. No, it's a skill that we have to teach them. First of all, we have to set them up for success by not having too many things to clean up. So again, going back to simplify, less toys is more. Having things to clean up into that are organized. Teaching them to take out one set of toys at a time, because if not, it becomes overwhelming to clean up. And then making cleanup fun and doing it with them. So you create a cleanup song, make it a game. If you have more than one, if you have trucks and dolls out and they go into different bins, okay, we're going to clean up. Which ones do you want to do first, trucks or dolls? Let them choose. Oh, trucks, okay, here we go. And you start singing your song or humming, and you clean up the truck. Oh, we did it, put it away. All right, let's go over to the dolls. So we think that if we make things fun and playful, that we're like condoning something that they should know how to do. So it's really about paying attention to the thoughts that we're having about the situation and shifting them. We're here to teach them. We're here to guide them. And these are skills that we assume that they know, and they don't. So cleaning up, waiting for a turn or opening your hand instead of grabbing, gentle touches, gentle touches with pets, gentle touches with items around the house that are breakable, gentle touches with people. We just assume that they know how to touch others gently, yet sometimes I've seen, and I know I used to do it, when you're ready to leave that park and your child doesn't want to leave, how many of us have grabbed them by the arm and pulled them out of the park? That's not very gentle. Yet we assume that they have to touch us gently. And if they were to grab us and pull us the way we've done to them, we would get offended, take it personal, and punish them. But And we've all been there. I mean, I don't want to speak for anybody else. I've been there. I've done it. Okay. Does it make sense? No. But we've been conditioned to believe it's okay. We've been taught by society and by the way we were raised to believe that that's okay. So just becoming aware that what we're modeling is extremely important, and that a lot of times we're modeling things that we don't want our kids to do. I remember one time, I don't remember what it was that one of my kids was saying. And they kept using this phrase. It wasn't like a bad word or anything, but it was just this phrase. And I was like, where did you hear that? And they're like, I don't know. And I just, every time I would hear them say it, I'd be like, oh, where did they hear that? And it was like weeks later, I heard myself say it. I was like, oh my gosh, it was me all along. The majority of the time, it's us. But we don't notice that we're doing it. But we notice when it's being done to us, or when it's happening around us, right? So just being really aware of when you notice a behavior that you're like, you know, check in with yourself first and observe yourself first, because you may have taught that unintentionally, but we still teach it. So, so gentle touches, just, remind your children, oh, you know, and practice. Like, these are skills. Skills are things you practice, right? You don't show up at the football game with never having practiced how to play football, right? It's the same thing. These skills are things you practice. So not in the heat of the moment when you're upset because they didn't do something. No, throughout the day, during their play, during your interactions with them. Remember to bring these things in to the interactions. Remember to bring in these skills of saying excuse me and waiting for their turn to speak, or, something as simple as chewing with your mouth closed. Like, these are all just skills that we teach, but not just assume our kids know. So earlier I gave the example when I was talking about the cleaning up, and I don't know if you caught it, but I gave a choice, right? Our children don't have much control of their lives as youngsters, right? They're on our timelines. They usually have to wear the clothes that we pick out for them and buy for them. They have to eat the meals that we make for them. They don't have a lot of choice and control. And so a lot of times, especially 2-year-olds, 3-year-olds, when they're starting to learn that no, and they figure out that they have a little bit of power with the no, they start wanting to have control. And this is not a bad thing. We want our children to be independent. We're here to walk by their side, to guide them, to help them be dependent for when we're not going to be there. So giving them a little bit of control is not a bad thing. It's a good thing. So give them a choice. 2 choices that you're okay with, that is not, you wake up in the morning and you have 2 different color t-shirts, and you can ask them, hey, well, what are you in the mood for today? Do you want to wear the red one or the blue one? Right? That's not going to make or break you in that moment or the day or the schedule. It's probably going to help create cooperation, because now they feel like they made a decision, like they have some power, some control, and that you cared about their choices and about what they wanted and about their needs, right? So the only thing I say with this is don't go overboard. I've been around parents who take this, and then every single statement is a choice. And all day long, they're giving their kids choices. And I've been around them for 15 minutes and have been like, okay, stop. you're driving me crazy and I'm an adult. Like, just stop. Like, I remember one parent brought their child to my school and we used to drop off in the backyard on the playground, and this parent had just kind of learned this skill, and it was like, oh, so do you want to go on the slide or on the swing? And the child would choose one and be on there for a couple minutes, and oh, do you want to climb up the ladder, or the big ladder or the little ladder? Like, and it was like, and I was like, okay, no, stop. Like, this is not about all day long now asking your child what they want. Just a couple of times throughout the day, and especially if you think that you're going to get resistance to something. So if for example, you know that your child doesn't like cleaning up, and you're going to have to work a little harder at convincing them or making it playful, you start with a choice. You give them some power. You let them have some control. And you say, well, do you want to clean this or this? Oh, okay, let's do that one, right? So it's an amazing tool when you think that your child's going to be resistant to something. But please don't go all day long asking them, because it's going to backfire. You're going to overstimulate them, and if they feel overwhelmed, they'll probably end up acting out or having a tantrum at some point throughout the day because of it. So use it wisely. And then the last thing I want to talk about is empathy. So even when we need to set a limit with our child, we can do it with empathy. Again, remember what I said earlier, even with playfulness, being playful does not mean you are condoning. Accepting the moment for what it is and the way it's going does not mean you are condoning the behavior. You're teaching a skill. You're teaching, even with setting a limit, you're teaching a skill. So if it's time to get out of the bathtub and you've already told your child, in 2 minutes, it's going to be time to get out of the bathtub, and your child, 2 minutes come and you say, okay, it's time, and your child is having a hard time, starts tantruming, I don't want to get out of the bathtub. You have a choice. You can pull the kid out of the bathtub. Again, recognizing how we manipulate their bodies and them, right, without their permission, and yet then we expect them to behave a different way. You could say, you can empathize. You could say, oh, I can see that you're feeling really frustrated or angry about having to get out of the bathtub right now. I see it could be hard when you can't get what you want. You have a choice. You can get out of the bathtub, or I can help you get out of the bathtub. I don't want to get out. I said no. I understand. You're having a hard time. You can handle this. I'm going to help you. And then I'm going to pick you up. You pick them up. And you help, and you can just sit with them and hug them and be there for them. And let them have their feelings. Let them have their upset. It's okay. And you breathe with them. You tell them you can handle this. Too many times we think we're there to fix things or to change things. And then we don't allow our children to have the feelings and the experiences that will, in the long run, help them to cope and to become resilient and to learn how to feel their feelings without the need to fix them. So empathy just means that you see them. You let them know, I see that you're upset. I'm here for you. It's okay. It's okay that they're upset. But then we get upset because we don't like to see them upset. And what we don't realize is that we're being triggered by our discomfort and we don't want to be uncomfortable. And so then we want to change them and fix them because we can't handle it. If you can't handle it now that they're 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, when your 16-year-old is laying on a couch crying for 3 days at a time because a boy broke up with her, you won't be able to handle that for sure. So like use these opportunities as baby steps for yourself too. Baby steps to help yourself, because the feelings are going to get bigger as they get older and more complex. And it's okay for them to have feelings. And it's okay for us not to fix it for them. So hard. I know. I'm a fixer. I attempt to fix still. But instead of jumping in and giving our advice or jumping in and trying to fix it or trying to change it, it's just about accepting it and allowing it. And the more you do that now, and you teach your child now that they're young, that you can handle it, that you're not going to panic and react and jump every time they have a strong feeling. You're keeping those doors open of communication. Because when they do become teenagers and they don't want to communicate with you as much because it's natural for them not to want to, because they are more independent. They're trying to break away from you, which is what's natural and normal. But if you keep those doors open and you keep that safety net there where they feel safe to come to you and know that you're just going to be able to sit and listen and hold space for them without jumping in to try and fix it, then they'll come. So this is a practice right now. The younger they are, typically the easier it is to use these opportunities. Look at them as opportunities to help calm yourself so you can hold space for them without trying to fix it. It's just about holding space and allowing their feelings, just like a lot of us don't know how to do for ourselves. When we're having strong feelings, we go eat, we go drink, we go shop, right? We do something to try and fix it. No, just sit with it. Sit with the discomfort. Sit with the feelings. Let them go through you. There's nothing to do. Just feel. It's not going to be around forever. So I hope that helps. I'm going to turn off the recording now. Turn it down.